Hi, my name is Joseph Matting. I am the community manager and a face you may recognize from the Sandbox for each and every one of our live streams on Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. I also help produce the news content that you see every week over on our YouTube channel and answer all of your questions all the time. That is my favorite part of our community, is that we are listening and interacting, and that is the primary focus of my job for you.
Awesome.
Thanks, Joseph. We also have the venerable Chris Chapman as well. If you want to introduce yourself, Chris.
Sure. So I am.
So here, can you hear me from here?
Oh, we got you now.
No.
We had you. Anyway, my title over at Sandbox is the director of multiplayer. I'm a longtime virtual world guy. I came over from Disney Imagineering and jumped into Decentraland back in 2017, 2018. And I was over there for a while, then spent some time at Blockade Games working on Neon District. And for the last year, I've been over here with Sandbox, helping everybody put together a compelling multiplayer experience.
Do you want to ask the next question there, sir?
Yeah. So like guys, like this project's like it's really huge. So I mean, mind me asking, like how did the team come together, and like how did you just, like this is the game that we want to do, and I'm gonna be, these are my teammates. Like what's the story behind that?
Oh man, that's a great question for Seb right now. I will fill in briefly, and he can do a better version soon. So Seb and Arthur started years ago, like 11, 12 years ago, making mobile games, basically, with a mobile game studio. And so they've known each other forever. And they've had the team at Pixowl over the decade, right, that they've been working on these things. And then, a few years ago, they started, the NFT thing hit, and then they were like, oh man, we need to build like this. We have the Sandbox IP. I'm doing a terrible job. I can see Seb's face. He's like, "Oh my God, Chris, that's funny."
No, it's fine.
But like they're like, "Oh my gosh, NFTs!" And they got really excited about taking their 2D Sandbox concept with their Sandbox mobile game to a 3D voxel shaped world, right? And from there, it was. I mean, if you've ever met Seb, he is a networking machine. Like he knows everybody who's anywhere, and they're like, and so it was just everyone glommed to him, right? The idea is so compelling that we all just said, "Hey, I'll do this. I'll do this. I'll do this." Like it was funny. When I came on, because this I do know, I can tell you this is my little story. I had been watching, because I came from Decentraland, right? I was at Decentraland for a year, and then I was doing other things, and I was watching the Sandbox. I'm like, man, they're cool. And I was watching what they're doing. And I'm like, I wonder if they could use some virtual world help, right? Because I'm a virtual world designer. I'm like one of the three in the. I mean, whose real job is virtual world designer, right? And so I'm one of the few people in the world that do this thing. And I was thinking of reaching out and saying, hey, Seb, because I've hung out with Seb at conferences and stuff, and I'm excited about the Sandbox. I was like, hey, I should reach out and see if they need help. And about that time, Seb sends me an email saying, hey, one of our advisors suggested that you might be a good fit for helping us out. And I was just like, what? And he was like, what? And we got together, and I started like laying some of the groundwork for some of the fun things that we're working on.
That's awesome. One of the kind of things that really kind of triggers in my mind there when you talk about virtual world designer is like, oh, that reminds me of a hero protagonist in Snow Crash, obviously, who helped design the club and kind of designs these virtual worlds, and it's kind of like, it literally feels like we're kind of starting to live in a sci-fi novel at this stage.
That's true.
Yeah, it's very much like that, right? Like, so it's a thing that I say a lot is we're not adding like multiplayer social features to a game, right? What we're doing is we're taking a social experience and gamifying it, and that is the important piece, right? This this core foundation of social where everyone can hang out with their friends and do their thing. Because if you think about it, when you in the real world, when you're wandering around, you are social first when you're out there with your friends and in interacting with other people, and then game second. Like you go to a football game, and you're with your friends and do the things, and you go, and the football game is the activity that you're participating in, but you're in the world with your before, after, during, with your friends, right? It's all about having the people that you know and want to hang out with around you, right? Being social with those people. And that we're facilitating that across, everything, the entire world.
That's amazing. And I think, the last few months / years of COVID kind of really kind of demonstrates the necessity for these, like these more tangible digital experiences in a social way. I think that's it's so perfect. It's so needed right now. So it doesn't, as bad as some of the stuff that has happened in terms of like COVID. It's amazing that it's kind of like helped kind of push the adoption of things like this and the movement towards these things. And it's crazy that these have all converged at the same time. But just quickly, do we have Seb? Is Seb with us now?
I've always been with you. I could hear it all the time.
We have Seb! Let's
Fantastic,
go!
Yes.
fantastic.
Yeah!
We have. So, just quickly circling back, we will get back into the kind of meat of the AMA, but just kind of circling back, we'd love for Mr. Sebastien Borget to introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and thanks, Joseph and Chris, for by sharing your own personal story on how you got into Sandbox and your vision. I think it's always great to hear it directly from members of the community, members of the team, and I think I don't have much to add to that. Like, you've told pretty much everything: the passion, the love, why you're part of Sandbox, and what we are building here. So I'll just quickly introduce myself. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Sandbox, which is a decentralized gaming virtual world. Our vision is to turn players into makers and empower players and creators through blockchain and NFTs. Let them earn a revenue from the content they create, from the activities they do within that virtual world, and from the games they're going to play in that virtual world.
Like, awesome. Like, yeah, I mean, Seb, like I want to apologize for the troubles, for the audio troubles earlier, but then, like, dude, I mean, everyone's happy that you're finally here with us. So I mean, I'm just gonna like jump right into it. So like with all this stuff that we've been talking about, like how COVID has affected like the gaming industry. I mean, it's like right now that's what I'm trying to tell everyone. Like, the gaming industry is gonna change forever. So if you tell them about Sandbox, they're gonna be like, yeah, so it's like Minecraft. And like, what not most people understand is blockchain games are a different story. And like, one feature that could specifically like differentiate the Sandbox from any other type of game out there is you have an NFT gating feature. And what it does is, if you have a certain kind of NFT, you're only allowed in specific maps. Am I right? Correct me if I'm wrong. And could you like let me know about the limits of this? Like, up to what extent can we push this? Like, is there a number of people? Is there how many NFTs and such?
Right. So you're right. First, the main strong differentiator of Sandbox is like, we want the users to own their currency, to own their digital asset, to own their virtual land. How we achieve that is through the use of blockchain and NFTs. All the content you create, all the content you earn in Sandbox is actually yours in your wallet. You do what you want. You can trade it on marketplace. You can use it to create game, or you can, for game creator, you can use it as a ticket, a sort of virtual ticket that gives you access to certain experiences. So you're a landowner. Imagine you want to run a special party. Sandbox can host a social multiplayer up to 40 players per instance, then throw a new instance and a new instance, little bit like Fortnite, for example. And we're introducing very soon this system called the NFT gating, where only the owner of the creator of the land can define that only the owner of that ticket can enter the experience and start playing into it. What it enables, it's very powerful. You think it's maybe just a gateway to a single game, but if you couple it with another system called the Season Reward Pass, that we'll be introducing with our first alpha. Then you have a full system where you can introduce a progression, have players, users discover new lands day after day, and based on the completion, how often they came, which one they visited, which one they didn't visited, have different tiers of reward, with of course the highest tier being the biggest reward, the most valuable, including game NFT from Sandbox, Sand token, and we're thinking about adding NFTs from across the whole ecosystem, valuable NFT as reward, which effectively introduce first play to earn for players. Like you spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day to visit a land, socialize with other people, chat, play some mini game as a community manager into our land are going to activate for you. Unlock progressively the progression until you get to that ultimate reward that will be a limited edition NFT that could be valuable.
I see.
Understand?
I mean, dude, like it's amazing how like how you guys like gamified the game. So basically, it's a game within a game within a game. It blows my mind. But then, I mean, if the people start playing it, they're gonna have this. Their eyes are gonna be open to all the different possibilities that could happen in the metaverse with integrating NFTs. I mean, you've been talking about like recently, like Seb, about jobs in the metaverse. Like there's this whole list that I've been trying to share with everyone, that it's not just basically get in the game, like build an avatar, build an NFT. Like I think we've mentioned it earlier, but then there's the specific needs, there's specific jobs for specific skills of people. So you will find your place in the metaverse. I mean, this is amazing. I mean, without the blockchain, this wouldn't happen. I think Alexei, do you have a blockchain question for the guys here?
Just before that, I'm going to kind of touch back onto a point that Chris made about kind of virtual world creation. And one thing that you look at these environments like, say, Decentraland or CryptoVoxels, Somnium Space or Sandbox. I mean, do you think that like for us to truly have a metaverse, do you think that these need to all be interoperable in some way? Do you think that it's a case of like, a kind of competitive environment where like one is going to kind of trump the other, or do you think we'll be able to have a system where they'll all work together harmoniously?
Yeah, I think that's part of the metaverse, is that all of these different worlds will be connected, right? Because for example, if you think about in the Ready Player One, it's a great example when he goes from planet to planet to planet. He's visiting all these different places in the metaverse, and his avatar will change based on wherever he goes and all the avatars. So the thing that NFTs enable with this, though, is that as you go from place to place to place, your reputation and your identity go with you, right? So you can still be the same person in each of the same avatar, but maybe not the visual avatar, but the same, like your same username, right? My little CryptoPunk picture. Everywhere I go, oh, there's my CryptoPunk picture because it's an NFT on the blockchain, and I sign a little thing that says, oh, this is me and whatever. But it's portable identity is what it is. And so when you have portable identity, that means that we can just glue all these metaverses together. We don't have to. It doesn't have to be a zero-sum environment. It's a positive-sum environment where everybody can play together through all of these places, and we all know each other, and your friends go with you, and all of this stuff, right? So It's just turns it all into a giant connected playground.
That's amazing. And is this something that's like actively kind of in the pipeline already in terms of this kind of interoperability?
Everybody wants it, right? But Seb, go ahead. You got it.
No, definitely. Like Chris said, like there's this ultimate goal, like everything will be interoperable, but there's some work in the middle to be completed, and we think like that work will essentially trigger new jobs. We need more people to help us on this mission, like producing content, moving that from 2D images. Like most of the NFT are actually 2D artwork, crypto art or collectible, that need to be turned into like 3D animated content adapted to the format of Sandbox using Vox Edit, our creation tool. We believe as well it's going to require like architects, level designers, game designers who put experiences where those content will be fun to play with. Like if I own a CryptoPunk, if I own an Axie, if I own CryptoKitty, I want to do something with it, come to a hub, socialize, chat with other users, but also interact into worlds that are designed for fitting with the universe of the brand. So there's a lot of possibilities and room for calling out to creators on one side who will design those experiences, games, worlds, etc. But there's more to it. Like it's not just about launching a world and keeping and hoping people to come. It's also about being there, animating it. So when other visitors, players arrive into that land, it feels not empty. It feels there's always something to be done. Like there's always someone that is walking by, there's someone you can go and chat with, there's someone that will take you on a tour or make you do activity. And Chris here is the expert at like creating that kind of engagement, but it will require a lot of human. Like we don't believe into robots, scripts, or AI. We want to do it human based. That's how we connect with others, and that's also a lot of jobs that will be created inside those experiences, we think.
Yeah, if you think about it, that's a really powerful thing. Is because when people play games, they're used to interacting with the NPCs, and you go through, a very varying quality of pre-written dialogue trees, which in a game it's fine, right? Because you have a game and you have goals in the game, and they're trying to do whatever. But in a virtual world, we don't necessarily have a set, like there's not an end boss, right? We are a world, and we're all doing fun things all together at the same time. And how amazing is it if we have people they're basically the player characters, not the NPCs, but they're the player characters in the world. And you want to do this thing, and let me tell you a story about this. Let me take you over here and show you all the cool things that are in this museum right now. See that NFT? You can relate to the player. Maybe some player is wearing like a motorcycle jacket or something. And you're like, oh my gosh, over here, if you come over here, here's this cool motorcycle that you can ride around and drive and do cool things with. And you can personalize it. The level of personal communication with the other people in the world is super sticky, right? And everything we're doing at Sandbox is pointing at that direction. Everything is all about driving people together. From the way we've designed the layouts for our hubs in a like hub and spoke format, right? We took a page from Disneyland where when they laid out Disneyland, there's a reason that they laid it out the way they did, and it was to get you to the attractions quickly that you wanted to go to, but it's also to like take you with on a journey through everything. And when everyone is crossing paths and you're seeing the other people, it's this it's a social proof is the term for it in game design. And you see other people out there having fun and doing things, and that makes you want to have fun, and they're doing this, and you see something cool over there because you see a crowd of people traveling that direction. You go over there, right? Like a couple weeks ago, for some of our alpha testers, I ran a story tour in the hub, and I wrote a little story about some of our characters that like in the hub, and here's where I took a crowd of people. I said, hey, follow me and I'll take you on a tour. And so a little crowd of people followed me around, and I was like, see that door up there? That's where this girl Pixel lives, and she works over here. Now follow me. And then she has this little friend, and like I told the story, and we wandered through the hub, and I showed them all the places and all the different people that were part of this story. And as we were going through, people were listening and answering questions and following, and it was a fun tour. But the tour gathered strength because we were walking through, and more people joined because they saw a big tour of people walking by. And they saw that because I could slow down. I could see that there were people around. I slowed down. I'm like, hey, come get on and let's go. And it's that level of human interaction that just drives a lot of this engagement.
Oh, that's just. I have to say, every time I talk to you guys, it's like so many kind of questions, and it provokes so many kind of ideas in my head whenever I talk to you guys. But it's amazing because I've played a lot of, in quotation marks, sandbox style games, like let's say Assassin's Creed or Grand Theft Auto, and games like this. And you guys potentially have found a really innovative way of dealing with the issue of shoddy AI and NPCs by replacing them with humans, which is, I think, an idea that like everybody is just trying to fix this issue by improving AI, improving the kind of programming of NPCs, whereas what's kind of, in my opinion, could be something that's kind of staring people in the face is this idea of kind of humanizing the whole thing, which in some ways it's a truly kind of, it's a kind of really beautiful thing. And I mean, like that, when you were kind of giving me your little story there about you telling this story and kind of bringing these guests through this experience, what it really reminded me of is something from my childhood, which is outdoor theater. So you'd have these actors, these storytellers, bringing these people in this kind of really kind of immersive experience, creative experience, where you can have these, and obviously with those particular experiences, it was very much something to kind of conjure in your own mind the imagery around you. But obviously, because this is a digital experience, you're going to be able to paint these experiences and kind of have these, what, let's just call them actors for the sake of argument, participants in these
It's a great term. Yeah.
virtual experiences. That to me is like really magical, like, and that kind of coordination of all these real humans. And it could lead to like, and it kind of reminds me of other things like D&D, like Dungeons and Dragons almost, kind of playing these kind of experiences where people take on these personas and live out these kind of these experiences within a virtual environment. It's just like, it really blows my mind, I have to say.
Lots of room for role playing, and you can do this because we have a permanent online world, right? It doesn't have a start screen, it doesn't have an end screen, right? It's always on, it's always there, it's persistent. The data like when you have this thing that just is always running, you can, and we haven't even talked about events, right? Like we can have events that happen like every 3 hours, right? So that we hit all the time zones. We can have some kind of crowd like event that involves everyone, and like we have a gala night, we have a comedy club thing, we have all these things that we've got in our pipeline that we're planning. And if you have these things on a schedule, that like it's going to happen, and you log in, and everybody's there, and it starts like this AMA, right? This could be in Sandbox, and we could be doing it there and walking around and talking and pointing at all the things and like doing all of this at the same time, right? It's
Challenge accepted. Well,
Yeah,
let's
exactly.
let's call this. Let's say in 2 to 3 months from now, let's redo this AMA in Sandbox. Let's say that we'll kind of have another AMA at some point over the next few months in Sandbox instead. Let's call that a deal, will we?
Sounds great.
I think that's actually gonna be a thing. Like I see like YGG AMAs, like especially of the games that we're gonna be having AMAs with have land and have like establishments inside the sandbox. And I see no reason why we shouldn't do AMAs in there. Because like for example, like in YGG, like what our community loves doing usually on a daily basis is we sing karaoke. Like we just hang out and everyone like everyone like just shows their talents, we sing. So what I was thinking is, you know what, instead of doing the karaoke on Discord, you could actually do it simultaneously. So while you're in Sandbox, like you have a stage on the YGG land, we have a music festival setup like what you just released, and we just host everything there. I mean, I have a quick question for that. I haven't tried the game personally, but is there a feature where you have audio that you could feed into the game, so we wouldn't need Discord, or how does it work?
So the audio decision we made was that we would do audio externally. So you would still use whatever, right? Because we want to do it there are two things. One is the audio for interactive crowds and stuff like that. Like
Okay.
that will be the thing. They are going to talk like with your friends. You will talk the way you normally do. Most people will talk over Discord or Google Meets or whatever, right? My brain just blanked on the iPhone version of it. Anyway, whatever. they will all talk like they normally talk with their friends. But for big productions like when we have Dead Mouse in there or something like that, we will do streamed audio to everybody. But it's not going to be an interactive thing. And there are lots of reasons why. Probably the most important reason why we've split that is for safety, player safety, because because we are a persistent world. Anybody could be walking right next to you, standing right next to you. It could be whoever. Lots of people like anonymity. They don't want us to talk. So we didn't want to have a default voice just purely for a moderation perspective. Voice to be opt-in instead of opt-out, right? And if voice is opt-in, there's no real reason for us to build infrastructure because everybody already has their voice opt-in that they do with their friends, right? So like my kids, I have teenage boys and they are playing games all day, every day with their friends, and they don't play single player games like they haven't in years. Everybody plays with their friends, and they've all got a Discord channel where they just sometimes they'll chat. Even when they're playing on Xbox, like Xbox has voice support. Nobody uses it. Everybody chats through Discord. There is no reason to have voice integrated in the app.
Yeah, I mean it already like makes sense. Like especially like Discord does the job like perfectly. And I mean just like related to that, how about for streaming video? Is that a thing? Like for example, we have a music festival. Is it possible for the creators to actually feed their video on a screen inside the game, or is that only accessible to like developers at like big events like for Dead Mouse and everything?
This is a feature we are going to work. Like we want to enable landowners to launch their own music festival or video streams from within the land.
Yeah.
We want to. There's a series of features that we are part of our game maker roadmap that goes beyond just a 2D video or like flat audio streams, and that's something we will add as we had some music artists like Dead Mouse with Geotine. Today we had Blondish, DJ Blondish as well into. And we want to make sure that we offer something that we feel is the next generation of like the immersive virtual concert experience. So like Travis Scott with Fortnite or Marshmallow with Fortnite. Yeah. We don't want just to feel like I watch YouTube with my avatar on a smaller screen than I do on my browser page. However, like back to the idea, like we'll do our IMA into Sandbox. So yes, and I think we will do our training session from Sandbox. Joseph is already doing that with some of our ambassadors. He's actually joining into Sandbox and teaching them with their avatar all the activities and things like games, guided tours, etc. that we are planning for. And I think like one big difference of not using AI, robots, script, but having humans is like it will make every single experience different. Like you never get the same when you enter. Every single of user will live it differently, and there will be a lot of culturization as well. Like yes, we train ambassadors, we're going to train community manager, but each one can adapt. Some will be more welcoming in a certain way because that's part of like, for example, if they are based in Canada or if they're based in Brazil or if they're based in Asia. We have a lot of Asian-based, Korean, Chinese, and a growing community in Philippines, for example. They will introduce differently. They will run things differently. That's I think part of like feeling you're part of communities. You're part of something that's alive. The metaverse should be alive, we think.
Yeah, I mean, like related to that, dude. Basically, what's happening is like NPCs are gonna be humans. So gone are the days of kids like spamming like the whole storyline just to get to the end of the game and just show it to their friends that they finished the game in 2 minutes. So basically, the sandbox will never end. As long as there are people playing it, as long as there are people building on it and creating NFTs, it's always gonna go on like forever. I mean, like for me, for example, I know that you have a tool, a specific tool that you use to create all the content. It's called Vox Edit. And dude, like this blows my mind. So if I was to use Vox Edit, are there any like prerequisites or requirement for me to create my own NFTs? Like for example, like a piece of clothing, and I mean, or a vehicle. How do I send them? Like what's the process for me? Is it accessible to normal players like me?
We tried to make it as accessible. I think Joseph and Alex, they stream twice a week. We have actually more than 200 Twitch and YouTube live streams where members of the community are teaching all the members how to use the tools, Game Maker, Vox Edit. You can interact with them as well during the stream, ask any questions. Those streams are localized. I didn't keep count of how many languages, but I know we have like Italian, English, Spanish. We have creators in also potentially Romanian, etc. So that's quite interesting. And we are partnering beyond streamers, like with schools, like animation schools, video game schools as well, that help build knowledge, build methodology. We call that Game Maker Academy, Vox Edit Academy. The goal is we need to share the knowledge. We need to train people to have those skills, and more, and then they will train themselves, being part of that community. And so that's how we create a whole digital economy, and we create new jobs. If we keep the knowledge into a limited group of people, we cannot grow an ecosystem. So my main role is how do we make that ecosystem as big as possible, as global as possible, and make it as inclusive of anyone who has the motivation as possible. And that's why we are here today. We hope that you'll get some interest by all the cool things that Sandbox has to offer, and maybe also will help you start a new career in the metaverse.
Yeah, I mean, like Seb, like while we're at it, so like for all the new players who are gonna be getting into Sandbox, like what would you advise? Like, what's the first? What are the baby steps for us to get immersed in the game?
You want me to? You get it? Okay.
I'll let Joseph answer this one because he's welcoming a lot of new users through the streams. I guess he has even better answer than I do.
Yes, I think so. We have a lot of different ways that users have come into the Sandbox. So some of them have come in as investors, just interested in the lands and the value of lands. Some have come in as artists who are creating with Vox Edit. Others have come in with the interest of just playing games. With the history of the Sandbox, if you aren't aware, the Sandbox Evolution, the app that was released on Android and iOS that led up to this creation, ultimately had over 40 million users. So I'll have a lot of live streams where people will drop in and say, how can I play these games right now? And for those people who are interested in testing and seeing what the Sandbox Game Maker can do, what kinds of experiences and games you can make, they can play by opening the Game Maker and going into the gallery. And we have a large series of games that were just completed for our Game Jam number 4, where we gave away 300,000 sand token prizes, and then an additional Seb, at the end of the day, I think it was 73 land tokens, NFTs, that were given away during that event. So totaling hundreds of thousands worth of prizes. And that was just maybe last Saturday now that we did that. So that was really exciting. So there's a lot of different ways that people get into it. But the most introductory steps would be, as Seb mentioned, to stop in on our Saturday live stream or our Wednesday live stream and see what we can do with the Game Maker. Or on Monday, you can pop in on the official channel and watch what we can do with Vox Edit. So whatever your passion is, you can lead into those things. And then for those people who, if you do love Vox Edit, your next step might be going to fund.sandbox.game and attempting to be one of our official team artists, where we sponsor people directly to create art for the Sandbox and be able to then publish those NFTs into the marketplace. Or you could wait just a couple of weeks where we will allow people to use Vox Edit and then directly export it into the Game Maker and start to see what your creations look like inside the Game Maker, just for the full and open community.
I mean, dude,
That's really amazing.
yeah.
And I mean, I know that Seb touched on their Vox. Did you say Vox Edit Academy? Is there a resource, like, or kind of, is there like a big hub of resources? Because obviously, one of the things that really amazes me is just the sheer creative abilities of the scholar communities. It's something that I think we've seen time and time again, that creative ability. And obviously, I think what would be amazing if there is a kind of hub of learning materials to use these tools. I think it would be super important for us to kind of drop that into the Discord and get people aware of where they can go to learn how best to use that. Would you guys have some links that we can kind of drop in after the show?
Absolutely. We do have plenty of link and resource, the video tutorials, onboarding, and also contests. Like we have various country-based contests running on all the time, both on our Vox Edit Twitter channel. I think in Philippines, for example, the blockchain space run by Peter Ng is organizing already the second PINA singing contest that encourage people to submit a Vox Edit creation inspired by the local culture, showing like monuments, gods, things that they can be found in the streets, vehicles, dragon, mythical, etc. We did that in Korea, in China as well, and we're trying to get many themes that inspire people, no matter their origins, and speak to more and more their local communities as well. So I'm sure we can organize a third one, and we can share even localized materials, as some of our community artists are actually from so many nationalities. We have artists from Taiwan, from Brazil, Canada, US, Russia, Philippines. Actually, Gerald Sisapi is one of our top artists. I think he earned already for hundreds of thousands of sand by selling content on the marketplace, and he's been eager to get more and more local artists as well to join him in this community.
All right, I see. I mean, like, while we're at it, when will the Sandbox Metaverse be open to the public?
So it's a very good question, and like so far, we have already rolled out to the public several parts of the platform, like the content creation tools, the voxel editor that lets you make those 3D models, animate them, the marketplace where you can upload those content as NFTs, get whitelisted and start selling them as part of collection, the map with the land and the land sales, and the Game Maker. The Game Maker is also live in beta, can be accessed by anyone, and even have regular game jam competition when you can earn prize from your creativity. The part that didn't open yet is the game client and the first play to earn seasons, where for more of the player side, we will be enabling access to players to earn rewards. So the first alpha season is aiming towards the end of the summer. And we'll offer more than 500,000 sand in price for about 1,000 users who, when they get that NFT ticket, they can earn those prize based on the different tiers. And progressively, we'll roll more and more seasons. Like you said, like opening lands, we will be opening the first land from Land Creator by the Q1 next year, because we want to make sure they open something that's fun, that has people in it to animate, rather than just open it, but everything is empty. There's not enough people to animate, and it gets a feeling of being a ghost town.
Yeah, we definitely want to take the crawl, walk, run approach, right? Because I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but Sandbox is a wide, large, multifaceted monstrosity of a project. So in order to do it correctly, we are releasing pieces at a time so that we can build them in and fix any issues that come up or pivot, right? So maybe we find something that's fun and we want to lean on that direction. So it's going to be a nice, relaxing release process.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get it.
Everybody's
sorry, go ahead.
I know everybody's excited and they all want to play and all these things,
Yeah,
but
for sure.
we will get there. I promise we'll get there.
Yeah, I was just saying that. I mean, I totally get what you guys are doing. So you're building the platform from the ground up. So you have to have like the community actually like build it themselves instead of you guys building everything and just hoping that everyone would like it. So basically it's us who will be creating the sandbox like for what it will be like in the future. I mean, everyone's excited, like everyone's looking forward to it, like to just hop in the Atari land and like go crazy with everything with the Walking Dead collab and everything. So I mean, guys, it's gonna be sorry, correct me if I'm wrong. The first time that we will be able to see it ourselves is gonna be in December and also in early 2022. Correct?
The end of summer is what he said, not in December.
Oh, all right, the end of summer. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's
Yes,
this year, summer this year.
Yes. Yeah,
So
the
it's
initial
sooner than-
rollout will be multiplayer experience where you can be in social hubs, interacting, hanging out with our ambassadors, which could
Oh,
be
wow.
anyone in this chat right now. One of those people, if you're interested in doing so, I know that you at YGG are helping bring some ambassadors onto the team. And then we'll do sand distribution for cooperative kind of fun events that we'll be running throughout the early release, and then we will get into the seasonal content that Sebastien mentioned, where we'll do play to earn concepts as well.
Yeah, and when we say summer, we mean North America, or not North America, Northern Hemisphere summer, not Southern Hemisphere summer.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
So I mean that's in a couple of months. Like
Yes, sir.
So like what? Sorry, like what month is it exactly? Like what month does summer end in your side of the world?
We are cleaning up the last few issues, making sure everything is working like we need it to. So we're polishing it right now, and so it will be soon within the next couple of months. But I am definitely not going to be the one that says it will be on whatever date.
I tried, guys. I'm so sorry. I tried.
To answer your
I know.
summer
it will be very soon.
Summer ends in September, late September of 2021, officially, according to the search result I just pulled.
Search results.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
One thing that really stands out as incredible to me, which is unusual from my many chats with lots of blockchain games, is that Sandbox has at least 200 developers. Now, when I hear about the scope of Sandbox and what you guys are trying to achieve, it really kind of fills me with significant confidence to hear that you guys have, over 200 developers already working. I mean, how long did it take you to kind of get so many developers? Because obviously a lot of the projects that I speak to, lucky if they're over 10 sometimes. So I know it's a challenge getting staff. And I mean, how long did it kind of take you to get such an awesome team kind of put together?
Seb, you want to take that one?
Yep. Can you hear me still? So it's not exactly 100 developers. The team has grown to more than 100 people globally. I think we have more than 32 nationalities in the team now. We definitely have like artists, game designer, level designer, QA tester, people in charge of the marketing, and many other roles that are needed to run Sandbox as a company. But we are growing and we are hiring really actively. I think our goal is to reach 200, if not 300 people over the next 2 years to build all the different parts and products that make the Sandbox platform. Because don't get us wrong, like Sandbox is not just a single game, it's a platform with all many components, avatar with the avatar creation tool, everything related to blockchain, smart contract and token, the game client, the marketplace, the dashboard, the game maker, Vox edits, the multiplayer, the content, the live ops. Just here you can see there's 10 different core parts and core teams working on those different products as part of Sandbox. And so that's why we need people who are motivated and talented to join our team full time, but we also need people who are going to support our growing efforts, growing this ecosystem, because we believe like even though there are already studios who are being incorporated and teaching and building games in Sandbox, we still need to provide the level of support and training for them to be fully hands-on after, and by network effect start to scale even further.
Absolutely. What I'm really hearing there is like Sandbox is not really just a game. It's very much a platform, an ecosystem for potentially thousands of games and thousands of contributors. It's pretty impressive stuff, I have to say. Just quickly, I'll just circle back to a question I was supposed to ask earlier, but got distracted with how many ideas this is giving me. But in terms of like the choice of technology on the blockchain side, what's kind of can you tell us about like why you've made the choice of blockchain, and if there's any kind of layer 2s that you guys are considering for the future, or kind of how your process works for the kind of the blockchain, the technical side of the blockchain side of things?
Do you want me to do that one, Seb? Or do you got it? Uh-oh, I think we lost him. Seb, we can't hear you, buddy. Uh-oh.
It's free.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. Here I'm here.
Yep.
Here I am.
Yep.
So yes, it's built on Unity for everything that allows like to have PC and Mac software and a future cross-platform, including PC and mobile. But one thing I consider super important is by Unity is very accessible, so that gives us access to talent around the world. I think it's the framework for creating games that the most being taught around schools and university, and there's already a lot of training resource accessible. So that enables us to find talent developers to build those core tools, core component of the platform more easily. And then we apply that level of abstraction with our game maker that essentially allow anyone without any programming knowledge to create all those sort of experience, games, etc., which in turn makes game making and participating into the metaverse, we hope, as accessible to anyone.
All right, I see. I mean, yeah. So I actually have like a very interesting question from the community right now. I mean, Corpse City, Fallen Corpses. Are you there?
I am here.
And hey, man, go for it.
For my question that I've now happened to forget because I'm being put on the spot. Unfortunately, I just actually wanted to give a shout out to Sebastien and the rest of the Sandbox team, since I've personally bought land from one of the first pre-sales that didn't actually go so well. I was in one of those lucky few that actually managed to get a Binance land there. But I just wanted to really shout out and tell our community how great you guys have been at partnering with so many other projects in the crypto space. Like you said, you want to lift all of the other games up and give opportunities there and partnerships with them. And I think that's something that our community should be really well aware of. Is you guys aren't only just building the Sandbox, but you're trying to integrate every other crypto game that seems to be good or that's willing to work with you guys, and that's really impressive to me.
Yeah, and I kind of want to speak to that point just a little bit, because I really appreciate that. For the Sandbox specifically, one of the things that I have enjoyed the most as a Sandbox staffer is the ability to go to an event, whether it be virtual, physical, what have you, and to see other maybe blockchain games or blockchain metaverses, and to not have this sensibility that they're competition, but really that we're all working together towards a better future, whether it be a game, where you can play to earn in your game, or a future just simply on the blockchain with verifiable NFTs and things like that. We all kind of have a common purpose. And so that sense of community has been significant throughout. And we've seen those partnerships kind of come in a little more naturally because of that. So I really appreciate that.
Awesome. I think Josh, do you have a question also for our guests? Josh, are you there?
Yeah, sorry, 1 second.
Yeah,
So yeah, our
go
community
ahead, go
was
for it. Sorry.
actually wondering. Thank you, man. Our community was wondering about copyright infringement and stuff like that. So if they made a character specifically that has like connection to a movie or anything, is there anything that can protect them, or do they need to worry about that stuff?
Yeah, I think I can answer this one too. I answered them quite a lot on our live streams, but copyright protected content is still going to be copyright protected in their region. So being a platform like this, this is not the case in all countries. And so that's what's interesting about this, is that these rules change country to country. But for the example of the United States where I am, the Sandbox falls under a certain rule where the creator is the proprietor of the content, which also means the creator is liable for any potential damages therein. So what I would recommend to do is that you don't, recreate a Super Mario Brothers or a Pac-Man asset or something like that that is copyright protected for your space. However, with our partnerships with those NFTs, you will have opportunities to purchase assets that might be copyright protected, such as the Smurfs brand that we've integrated. Of course, we're going to have The Walking Dead coming in, as I mentioned, some Atari assets. And so those official NFTs will have the authority of, Ataris and Skybound and things like that to, to allow you to have those IP protected contents.
Is there just to kind of follow on from that question, as you have these existing partnerships, is there a way for kind of content creators to maybe apply to use that kind of IP as they have existing partnerships? Is there a way for them to kind of like apply to kind of make fan NFTs potentially, maybe like semi-licensed to kind of like fan creations? Is that a possibility, do you think?
That seems like if we don't have someone inside to handle that, that seems like a definite market opportunity for us, right? Is to act as a go-between between IP brands and our creators. But I don't know if we have anybody set up. Seb might.
Yes, sir. I mean, yeah, like guys. Oh, so sorry. Go ahead.
No, but we do have a certain protection in place for IP owner and partners, of course. Like the term of use of the platform are here to also define that you should not copy, but try to always be creative. However, like there's a certain mechanism in place, like with moderation, curation, reporting, to prevent as well the artists who might not be aware of those particular issue and have a chance to act upon that. Our recommendation is like we're taking care of bringing the big IP and brands you dream of into Sandbox. So if there's some like you want us to see and bring in Sandbox, tell us. We'll do the work, the heavy lifting, all the discussion, the partnership, the legal, etc., so that you can focus on making more of your own content, your own IP, your own brands. And we dream that one day, like the brands of the future will come from Sandbox, will come from artists or creators directly born into the metaverse and become mainstream from there back to the physical world.
That's something I'm looking forward to now. I'm looking forward to being able to kind of physically buy a pair of trainers that were originally designed in a game like the Sandbox, and then to maybe have some like NFT included in that purchase and augmented reality glasses so that if people see me walking down the street, I'm actually wearing a pair of like pixelated shoes. Now that's what I'm looking forward to now, I have to say.
Dude, that would be awesome. Like 100%, man. Like I see it totally happening. Like there are a lot of brands already integrating like fashion with NFTs, and I mean, what better way to introduce it to the mass population is through the game itself. I mean, it's crazy. Like the possibilities. Like as I keep on like learning like new stuff, talking to new people in this space. Like I mean, the possibilities are endless, like basically. I mean, so like for us who want to participate and who want to be part of the team, so to speak. Like I understand that you guys are actually onboarding people to slowly, like get to learn the game. Like for example, you are looking for ambassadors. So what qualities are you looking for these people?
So that's a great question. And just as a segue before I answer that, like imagine like the YGG community. Like you have this cap with the YGG logo. You have maybe other swag on you.
Yeah.
Like I invite the community to think like, how do we show we are YGG member while we are also within Sandbox Metaverse?
Yeah.
Do we create our own avatars, our own wearables, custom thing that we put on our land to say, hey, I'm a landowner, but I'm also YGG member,
That's true.
This kind of thing that identify you as your community. Kind of skills, so many different skills, basically. You can, all the jobs that we think are going to grow inside Sandbox Metaverse, we've seen content creation. So whether you're like level designer or architect of worlds, your fashion designer for creating the wearable caps, great things for the avatar. Your game designer, so you implement some game logic and put various gameplay, victory condition, quest into games. Also, like community management. So if you're quite a social person and you'd like naturally when you are with your 3D avatar, go talk with others, get them to do things rather than sit with their avatar. You're natural. I'm sure like you'll like to get them to do fun activities with you within the virtual world. Other activities and other kind of jobs, I think definitely everything that YGG is already doing, I think can work and work fantastically at scale within the metaverse. So like the way you're training the different scholars, etc., we just talked about it from within Sandbox, for Sandbox itself, and potentially for having AMA talks, etc., for other games as well, will work really well. And finally, like you might also be a good seller, who knows? And like we need people who are good at curating content on the marketplace, making recommendation, or become like virtual real estate agents. Like there's many NFTs, and the way we are going to showcase, to sell, to help creators sell. Like you can be an artist, but not necessarily a good seller, and you can be a good seller, but not an artist. So there's always ways to pair people and match the different skills.
Yeah, I mean, so basically, it's like real world skills are gonna be possible in the metaverse of the Sandbox. I mean, like
exactly,
but
real world skills, but with less there will be when you're in the metaverse with an avatar, or like here I see the picture from Alexei, or I see Chris' picture. Like I don't know how it looks. I don't know where he's from. I just hear a voice. I just see what a person does, what he owns as an NFT, and that's enough for me to trust that person, etc. So there's no judgment of background, where you're born, what you've done, what are your studies. Doesn't matter. It's purely based on your skills and your behavior and the NFT you own. And that I think is a strong differentiator into that will help a lot of people who are skilled, but maybe at disability or social, are less social than other, or are less privileged based on where they're born or what kind of wealth they can have access to. Like if you're born in New York versus if you're born in Africa, there's still a big gap that can be bridged thanks to the metaverse.
That's true. I mean, I think there's still that gap that that education has to fill in for for everything to like come to fruition, like how we see it. And like it's also gonna be us, like you guys the owners, you guys the developers, and I mean we have to play our part in it also, like for it to come to life, like basically. I mean, yeah, like while we're at it, before I turn over the stage to Alexei to wrap everything up, since we're running on overtime right now, I just want to show like one really cool thing to the YGG community and you guys, since we're talking about NFTs and creators and wearables. So like this YGG cap that you see, so actually like if you put your phone onto it, there you go. So yeah, so basically this cap will be an NFT in the future. So see this token could basically
That
go
was
inside the
Wow.
sandbox.
awesome.
What a great demo! And let's make sure there
I
is
just had to
another
touch
floor
cool.
with the cap.
We were talking
It's very
about it,
cool.
so I had to.
It's very
Like
cool.
going inside the shop, like playing it on the phone, like just purchasing it, tapping it on your friend's head while he's not looking. Possible in the future. Alexei, what do you have to say?
Yeah,
That's
listen,
fantastic.
I have to say I could talk to these guys all day. You'll have to forgive me for kind of going off the beaten track there and kind of really diving into this, but it's definitely a project that I think is arguably one of the most kind of deep and interesting blockchain gaming projects around at the moment. And I thoroughly encourage everybody in the audience to go out, do research into Sandbox, look at what's possible, and as a whole community, there's going to be some amazing opportunities for us to get really involved, get into the weeds with these guys, and really build a world, just like Chris, a digital world builder. We will all be digital world builders in the future. Right now, Chris is one of a handful of people, but in the future, we can all kind of play our part in designing and being part of these digital worlds. So, I'd like to really thank you all for coming on today's show. And I, for one, am really, really excited to see how Sandbox and YGG will be able to work together. As has been mentioned in the call before, I'll reiterate again that we are in the process of looking for the last places from the YGG community to fulfill these initial gaming guide roles. These are really amazing opportunity to get a paid in Sand role and learn some skills, learn about the project, get really involved on behalf of YGG as well. So really exciting things to come. I know that I'm sure that everybody in the audience is going to be watching with bated breath to see these developments in the project, and I can definitely speak for myself that I will also be watching and seeing how can I I'm and again, even for my daughter, my daughter's very creative, big fan of Minecraft and creating things. I'm going to see if she can create some interesting things with the Vox edit, and even myself, I'll be interested to create some items if I can. So thanks again for coming on, and if you have any last thoughts to share with us, any tidbits or leaks that you can let us know, that's really exciting, now's the time to let us know.
Very excited to get started and onboarding a few of the member of the YGG community into Sandbox, help us pave the way to creating those job opportunities for thousands, if not millions, more people behind. Teams basically don't be shy and don't think this is too difficult or this is not for me. Just try it and ask a lot. The basis of succeeding at something is absorbing like a sponge the information and asking other, how do I do that? How do I do that? And we've seen that many times in our community. People came to the stream, watch, ask a lot of questions, and now they are community manager at Sandbox. They are streaming themselves, and they move from a very boring job in life to becoming live streamer at Sandbox, explaining Game Maker, for example. I see Joseph smiling, so he knows who I'm talking about. But he's not an isolated case. There's so many other cases like this in our community and company.
And that is the core part of why we want people in Sandbox to help facilitate all of these things, right? It is so much easier to walk up to someone and say, oh, how do I get started? They will understand your question. It's not going to be like one of those automated robots you talk to on a phone that give press 5 to no, none of that. We have real people and we will help you. And then in turn, you will help other people. And it's going to be this giant reciprocal love fest, and everybody will help everybody have fun.
Awesome.
All right, so for my closing statement, I want to roll all the way back to the very first question you asked, which is something about the Sandbox. If you were just dipping your toes into it, what does getting started mean? And now I want to talk about what it means from a wider perspective. Let's say that you were a person who owned some land and you were thinking about developing your land. One potential way that you could develop your land is to make an NFT. Maybe it's a jacket for yourself, right? So you make a jacket for avatars and you make 200 of them and you could sell that jacket with the promise that they could use the NFT jacket as the key to get into a game that you make on your land, right? So you sell 1,000 of these jackets, or 200 of these jackets at 1,000 sand total, because it is an NFT that allows you into this game, this access. It's unique, right? If you did that, you would generate 200,000 sand immediately. Sand is currently 58.6 cents each, which would be $117,000 that you could allocate to artists to help you create your game. You could allocate that to game designers if you're not a game designer, right? Or to potentially picking up more land to develop more projects and do more with the NFTs. And that is a very simple kind of best use case as an investor for why you might want to get into the sandbox. But as a developer or as somebody in the YGG community, you could see with that example how easy it may be for you to kind of get into the ecosystem as a creator, and how those real jobs can very easily pop up in the sandbox community.
I see. I mean, yeah, guys, like I know everyone's excited, but though all good things have to come to an end, I mean, I really I just want to say thank you to everyone who made it today, especially to our speakers like Joseph, Seb, Chris. You guys were amazing, and I'd like to thank you for sharing your time with us. And I, in behalf of YGG, thank you so much, and I hope to see you guys inside the game. See you guys soon.
Thanks. Thank you. We hope to see more and more of the whole YGG community inside Sandbox. I think we are going to have a fantastic further partnership. You are so essential. What you do is so essential to play to earn and to the metaverse in general. So guys, keep up the good job, and we hope we'll grow something huge together.
Thanks, guys. Means a lot. Thank you so much. See you guys soon.
Thank